Okay, guys, I have a message. I'm going to see if I can put it all together because it's a lot and I want to keep it as short as I can. So my message that I did last week, I told you my angel kept playing the song by DMX. X gonna give it to you, okay? So I wanted to pull this message together because I didn't get to record that half of the message, and I feel like it's important. All right. So in that song, and I did pull it up because I want to read a few of the lyrics. Obviously, it's very explicit. I can't like read it verbatim, but I want to touch on what he was talking about because I have always felt like he carried divine rage, okay? He carried the truth about the mother, okay? Whether he knew it or not, whether anybody knew it or not, when I would hear his music as a younger woman, I could feel his rage, and I understood it on my own terms, in my own way, because of the oppression I had been through as a woman, okay? So whether you have been oppressed because of the color of your skin, or because of your gender, or because of your differences, maybe you're different, okay? And unique in some way. This song is a song for those who have been oppressed, but who rise anyway. It's such a powerful song. Anyway, there's so much I could say about that, but I got to keep it simple. All right. So, he opens the song talking about essentially, all these things that people had to say about him and what they wanted from him and everything they wanted to take from him. And he comes through with the message that he's going to deliver it to them, okay? But they don't know what they're asking for, right? Now, this is not, anybody who's listened to these lyrics and really paid attention to it, of course, it sounds like he's talking about something going down in the streets, right? But it's not. This is a divine feminine message. He is talking about spiritual warfare, okay? And the real true story of what those who have been most oppressed in our culture have had to go through just to survive, okay? And essentially he went through all these rites of passage in his life that were so much that by the time he made it to financial success, okay, let's just say that for a minute, and everybody was asking something of him and they all wanted a piece of him and they were all coming at him, they had no idea what he had to go through to get there, okay? And what that does to the human being and what that does to the soul and the type of fire that lived within him because of everything he came through, okay? So in a sense, the oppression he survived, and the dominance, really, because he's talking about, systemic dominance. It's the imbalanced patriarchy, right? And he said they had him on his knees, okay? But they didn't know that he was going to rise up anyway. And I'm just paraphrasing. I don't have time to read the whole thing, and I can't because of all the lyrics, okay? And he talks about essentially he himself, that he has such a good heart and that he really is light, okay? And so what they were asking for was truth, and he was going to give it to them, okay? And that's a simple sentence way to try to describe what I feel he's trying to say through these lyrics, okay? 333, as I said that. I want to show you some divine feminine cards that I pulled on this, okay? Of course, we have Kali, okay? She's a demon slayer. And essentially she represents death of the ego, okay? False illusions. She carries the severed head of a demon because she destroys lies, okay? And she's a divine protectress mother. She's also considered one of the most loving goddesses, even though she's also so fierce. But that's because she carries divine truth, which is what he's singing about, okay? And it's really so much, you guys. There's so much I could say about this message, but I'm just going to try to do my best to give it the weight it deserves, okay? The second card I pulled was Fatimah, okay? And there are many, you could research a lot of this. In this particular card, the oracle who wrote this deck speaks of the actual Fatimah of Islam, okay? And her history and why she's so loved and commemorated in Islam. And she was such a powerful, devoted, loving woman. And she cared for so many and stood up against men. And I feel like, pulling this card, for me anyway, really represents power and bravery and courage in a place where it was dangerous to be a woman, okay, and to be courageous. A woman standing up to a powerful man in a patriarchal, historical story, which is what I read when I read about her, okay, required so much bravery on her part. So much, you guys. If we think it's difficult in our culture where we have more freedoms and we have, even though women are still oppressed, okay, but relatively have more rights than in certain regions of the world. Imagine what it takes for women right now in places where they are heavily, heavily oppressed to stand up, the type of fire they carry, the type of wisdom they carry. That's what I feel when I pull this card, Fatimah. That's what I feel. I don't know how to explain that. And I can't. But that's the feeling I'm getting from her, is like all the volunteers on a soul level that came here to stand for the divine feminine truth in all of our places, in all of our walks of life, have to carry the fire, okay, and work with it and calibrate it, okay. Speaking of, the third card that came up is the Black Madonna, okay. Beautiful. Look how beautiful. And she's really considered a depiction of Isis of Egypt and Horus, okay, so divine mother, divine child. But what I think is really interesting, as I'm talking about the fire, one of the descriptions in this article on her is a quote from a book, I think it's a book called The Pregnant Virgin. Woodman, who wrote it, relates the only intensity of the fire, only the intensity of the fire can unite body and soul, okay? And so I want to talk about that fire, okay? Because these are really three beautiful, fierce, divine examples of courageous goddess energy, okay? Just powerful women, powerful children, okay? 722, as I said that, by the way, Mary Magdalene. And Mary Magdalene has always told me that she is an aspect of Isis of Egypt, okay? Like a reincarnation. And that story is so important for humanity right now. If we talk about the fire, okay? DMX, to me, in that song, and in a lot of his music, was trying to bring forth divine truth. And maybe it didn't come out so graceful, and maybe many people didn't listen to his music because they thought he was enraged, or that maybe they didn't like the language. But if you really listen to what he was trying to say, you'll understand that when you stand up for the oppressed, you stand for all humanity. When you stand up for the most vulnerable people, okay, or children, okay, if you think of children, not because they're not powerful, okay, but because they have been heavily attacked. When you stand for those in your own fire, okay, you stand for all humanity. So when we stand up for what women deserve, okay, or what children deserve, a safe, beautiful, healthy place to live, okay, when we stand up for Mother Earth, when we stand up for nature, when we speak up for a tree, when we speak up for animals, when we speak up for any who need that, okay, we're speaking for the Great Mother. We're speaking for the fire within us, okay? And I just want to show you the vision that try to describe the vision my guides gave me about that song. And if you go back and listen to it, of course, it's not for children because there's a lot of explicit language in there. So I just want to say that. But, you can hear in the song, he has dubbed in like a dog is growling. Essentially, you hear like a dog growling and barking, and he's barking. And when I heard that, my angel showed me this glimpse of all these wolves, okay? And I feel like I need to show this 1 second. I have a whole collection of these. These are crystal arrowheads, okay? And each one of the wolves has a different position. I actually love these so much, and they each kind of represent a different symbolism of the wolf, okay? But what my guides showed me was these sacred divine wolf beings, okay? Representing a pack, yeah, or a tribe. And they just go out from the forest into every place of this earth, and they infiltrate the people with divine primordial wisdom. okay? And I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again. This takedown of the shadow government and all the stuff is an inside job. Inside of us. 10-10 as I said that. We must allow the fire to come through, our truth to come through, okay? And then learn to work with that divine sacred rage to create what we want, okay? And I'm going to give you an example. So if you think about the message of his art, you know, of the songs that he wrote, or the songs of anyone who was trying to tell what the people were going through, taking that fire and taking that rage and using it to create systems that now empower the people, okay? Using it to bring back community, using it to rebuild the village, okay? And reconnect everyone to the best of our ability is how we begin to take that fire and turn it into something that is manifest in this world, okay? So I'm seeing examples of like people who have summer feeding programs. Okay, like this is just an example. 11-11 as I'm saying this. How there have been some school teachers and mothers and maybe some men too, but I'm seeing mothers right now because of a few people I'm aware of that do it that are women who organize summer feeding programs every summer. They work so hard. They put this together to make sure that every child has a meal through the summer. Okay. Well, what is that? That is a mother who knows that children, who's mothering all the children, right? She's seeing that they all need this. They need a safe space. They need a good meal. They need mothering. And they turn that knowledge and that inner righteous rage over the fact that that isn't what's happening, right? There are many children that go hungry. There are many children that are unsafe. You take that knowledge and that frustration and that inner rage over the facts that are terrible and distorted, and you begin to create a way to provide a need for these children, okay? This is what the great mothers do. This is what great mothers do, period, okay? And the fathers need to understand the masculine energies that live within us all, okay? And even those who are in masculine form in this life need to understand that when you stand up for women and children, you are standing up for yourself. Okay, when we liberate and support and bring together the wisdom of the great feminine, all humanity stands to benefit from this movement. Okay, so it's sacred, it's necessary, and it's going to happen. And just like in that song, that's when she comes through my channel, when I'm channeling the goddess, that is the kind of fierceness that she is, you guys. Like, she is both a destroyer and a creator, and she is here for divine truth, and that truth naturally destroys lies, okay? And it naturally destroys systems, 13-13 as I said that don't serve the greater good. And so this is why in our wisdom, connecting to her, you must begin to allow your own story to come through, and as it starts to come through, you are going to perhaps lose friends, lose certain communities. You're going to leave certain circles, okay? Or they're going to leave you. Because truth can be very uncomfortable for someone who's benefiting from the lies. But what they don't realize is that they will not benefit for very much longer from this distortion, because the alignment is happening. So there will be no benefit from taking what was not ours. Does that make sense? Okay. So there is we are on the cusp of so much happening, so much change, needed change. If you're uncomfortable right now, know that it's because of the great mother. Okay. We need to be uncomfortable with this situation so that we can bring forth something better. Okay. Birth this new earth together. Okay. So there is this feeling of camaraderie, the wolf pack working together. They're like hunting together, right? They're going after something together. And this is like the greater, wiser nature guides talking. Like they're saying, this is like if you could think of a good shapeshifter, not a negative shapeshifter, but a good shapeshifter, that's that energy of the wolf kind of just infiltrating the forest of humanity, just kind of going out everywhere. And now everyone's going to begin to telepathically sync up like nature beings do. And this is going to cause a great ripple through humanity, okay? Like sending out, so much light, okay, that change is inevitable, okay? Yeah. And resistance to change is only going to make your path harder. So I know that it's a powerful message, and I know that I didn't get to spend a whole lot of time on it, but I hope that the essence of this message reaches your heart, okay? That what I feel he's saying about was his truth and the truth of so many. And even though it might have come out rough, or it might have sounded distorted to someone who didn't understand oppression, right? When you really listen to this man's energy, when you feel his energy, you can tell he was trying to say what the great mother has been screaming for so long. And she will be heard. And I'm hearing like this roaring of a lioness, okay? She is ready. And we're ready for her. And that's not easy for everybody. And no, it doesn't mean your journey is going to be easy. But this is a necessary unwinding, a necessary death to many egos, a necessary detangling, okay, from the false narratives, and a bringing forth of divine inner truth, that fire, okay? And working with it and being willing to see and learn and change and grow. And I know it's not easy because I've had my own stuff too, you guys. Like, I'm growing too as we go through all this together. It is... what's the right word, Angel? It's just divine. She's saying it is divine. Mm-hmm. Noble, royal, true. That true, yeah, like she's saying, like true nobility saves humanity. In other words, like the noble path is to assist. Yeah. And she's just talking about wisdom and bringing it forth. Is there anything else you want me to say about that? She says that's it for now. No. She says we can do more. I'm like, who? She's like, you and them. So start thinking about things you want to create. Maybe little community things. Getting together at the park. This doesn't have to cost money, you guys, okay? But how can we start reconnecting the community for the greater good? Is kind of what I'm seeing. Is there anything else you want to say about it, Mother? That's it. Okay, that's it. I love you guys.